We can't know how well a company is performing until we know what the company is trying to be. So we need to look at our operations of our company and see what is their strategic plan. What is the strategy they have and what are they doing to work towards those goals they have. So how does a grocery store like Loblaws that had one location in 1919 become the largest grocery store chain in Canada? So this small grocery store now has Loblaws out east and Superstore out west. They have over 14 million customers each week. That's half of the population of Canada visits a Superstore or Loblaws each week. So we need to understand business strategy. We need to see who the business is trying to be. Now, most of you will take a strategy course in your 4th year of the BBA, so we're just going to do a brief overview of some strategic planning. So as we look at our strategy, we need to figure out how are we going to compete. So we need to define a couple of terms. Let's start with competitiveness. So we're looking at the ability and performance of an organization. And we're looking at their ability and performance in the marketplace compared to other organizations, compared to the competition. And these other organizations need to offer similar goods and services. So when we're looking at building our strategic plan, we need to know, how do we compete? Who are we and what are we trying to be? So first we have to define our primary task. So primary task is, what is the business of the day? Our company exists and they exist to do what? So if we're looking at the primary task, for example, of Canadian Superstore, what is their business of the day? Well, their business is to sell household goods and food. What about Red Deer College? What is our primary task? What's the business of the day? Well, it's to educate students and grant degrees and diplomas. So we need to know who we are. What is the business that we're doing? And then we need to look at our core competency. That is, what do we do better than anyone else? So those of you who shop at Canadian Superstore, think about, what do they do better as a store than the competition? Maybe it's the variety they have. Maybe it's the low prices. So what is it they do better than anyone else? If we look at Red Deer College, what does Red Deer College do better than anyone else? Is it smaller class sizes? Is it friendly instructors? And as we look at our core competencies, we also have to consider how we're going to compete. And is it aligning? Does our position, how we are choosing to compete, does that align with our core competency? So if we are choosing one way to compete, are we better at that than anyone else? When it comes to positioning, this is from the perspective of the business. And there are 4 general positions: cost, quality, flexibility, and delivery. When we talk about delivery, we're talking about timeliness, so quick turnaround. You might see that if you are a company that sells to other companies, so you provide raw materials or inventory to other companies, then it might be about the turnaround. If you are Pizza Hut, it might be about getting to customers within 30 minutes of their order. So that's delivery. We could position ourselves based on being low cost, which is what Superstore does, right? Why might you go and shop at Superstore? Well, Superstore's perspective is they're going to choose to compete by being low cost. And then we'll look in a moment at what's called the key purchasing criteria. This is from the perspective of the customer in terms of why they might choose a company. So you want to make sure there's alignment between your core competency, how you position your company, so how we choose to compete, and your key purchasing criteria, how the customers see you. So Superstore's cost. What about Red Deer College? Well, the perspective of Red Deer College is we choose to compete based on flexibility. The idea with laddering, that you can take your management certificate and then the diploma and then the BBA, that flexibility to stop at any time, the ability to take evening classes and weekend classes and online classes. We're choosing to compete based on flexibility. So we then, after we look at how we choose to compete, we then need to consider how our customers see us. So what is the key purchasing criteria? When we talk about key purchasing criteria, this is how customers see us, the business. So from their perspective, are we competing based on price? And Superstore, if they have a key purchasing criteria of price, so customers see them as competing based on price, it aligns nicely with their position of being low cost, because if you're low cost, you can sell for a low price. And if that further aligns with their core competency, if people see them as lower prices than anywhere else, then they're going to have a strategic advantage. So your key purchasing criteria can be price, can be quality, can be variety. So do you offer a number of different products, customized products? Timeliness. So you'd hope that a company that is going to position itself based on delivery, that customers see them as timely. It might be customer service, might be what customers emphasize, in which case that often is positioning yourself based on quality. So providing a quality product means that follow-up service that goes with it. When it comes to key purchasing criteria, we have price, quality, variety, timeliness, customer service, location, and reputation. Reputation should align with quality, and location typically aligns with delivery in terms of speed and quick access to the products. So we have to look at, for our company, what do we do? So what is our primary task? What do we do better than anyone else? So our core competency. And does it align with how we choose to compete, how we position ourselves? And then further, we have to look at, how do the customers see us? And does that align with how we see ourselves? As we think about the customer and their perspective of us, we have to think about how the customer chooses to buy products from us, to use our services. So customers want the most bang for their buck. They're looking for the best value. So we have to consider what is an order qualifier and what is an order winner. So order qualifiers are the purchasing criteria that customers perceive as the minimum standard of acceptability. So what must your company have at minimum to even be on the customer's radar, for them to even consider going to your business? So let's think about Superstore. So in order for you to even consider to walk in the door at Superstore, what must they have? Okay, they must have certain groceries, maybe. They must have milk. So what are the minimum standards for you to even consider going to their business? That's an order qualifier. So purchasing criteria that customers perceive as a minimum standard of acceptability to be considered for purchase. What about Red Deer College? What's the order qualifier? For you to even consider coming to Red Deer College, what did they have to have bare minimum? Maybe it was they had to have a degree. Maybe they had to have a location near where you lived. Those were minimums. Okay. Order winners are the purchasing criteria that causes the organization, I seem to have lost my words here. So let's try that again. It's the purchasing criteria that causes the organization to be perceived as better than everyone else. So this is what the company offers, what it is about them that puts them as your first choice. So those of you who shop at Superstore, think about, why do you choose Superstore over the rest of the competition? So if we look at other grocery stores, Sobeys, Save-On, well, they all offer milk and the basics, bread, things like that. So they all have the same order qualifiers. But why do you choose the grocery store that you go to? Is it because they have more variety? Is it because they are the cheapest? So what is it, what criteria that makes them better than everyone else, that puts them as your first choice? Well, what about Red Deer College? Why did you ultimately choose Red Deer College? What was it that made Red Deer College better than the other options? And if you're like my students in the past, it's about location, proximity to central Alberta, to where you grew up, to where you have a job. That's what made it the first choice over other institutions. So as we look at our customers, we need to know what is the minimum they expect and what is it that makes them choose us. So order qualifiers are the minimum, order winners pushes us over the top. Let's look now at positioning. Let's look at how a company chooses to compete. So this is from the perspective of the business. And the 4 positions are cost, quality, flexibility, and delivery. So Superstore, we said, positions themselves based on cost. So does Walmart. For quality, places like Sony, Samsung, lots of car dealerships as well do it based on quality. So that could be high performance, that could be consistency. There are companies that position themselves based on flexibility. So they offer variety, they offer choice. They will sell you small amounts or large batches. So when we look at hospital rooms, we look at airlines, it's about the choice for airlines in terms of where you go, hospitals in terms of all the different services they provide. Okay. The 4th position is delivery. McDonald's, other fast food places often time the amount of time it takes for people to go through their drive-through and reward locations that have faster service because they're positioning themselves that the customer can get in, get out quickly. As we said before, suppliers of raw materials or partially created goods, so businesses selling to businesses, often position themselves based on a delivery, so timeliness here. Now, if you're starting up a business, you can't compete based on all 4 of these simultaneously. You're gonna have to choose. And so when it comes to focusing on one position at a time, there is a general order that businesses follow. They typically start with quality. Okay, so you want to increase the quality of your product, so that you are seen as better than the competition if you can. Once you have improved the quality of your product, then you can focus more on delivery. This makes your company more reliable, and so people will prefer you. Once you have that reliability for your delivery, people get it when they want it, then you can move from there to low cost, cutting your costs to become more efficient as a company. And only after all of those do you tend to move to flexibility and start broadening the variety of the products that you offer. So because you can't be everything, you have to choose. That's because there's trade-offs, right? If you focus on one, that's time and resources. You're not focusing on another. So typically businesses focus first on quality, then delivery, then cost, then flexibility.